Good evening. Still Tuesday, October 21st, still from the press room of the Parliament. We are here for a press conference on the Commission work programme and on the report on simplification, implementation and enforcement that the College has adopted today. We are here with Commissioners Šefčovič and Dombrovskis. I pre-warn you that we will have a bit less than half an hour together, because Commissioner Dombrovskis has to be in plenary for another debate, and because our colleagues of the Parliament need the press room for an event. So half an hour, we will do our best to take as many questions as possible. Commissioner, over to you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. I'm glad to be here to present the new Commission's work programme adopted by the College this afternoon, and immediately after that presented to the European Parliament. Our programme, titled Europe's Independent Moment, sends a clear and decisive message. Europe must focus on remaining strong, sovereign and future-ready. You have already heard the President outline the key initiatives in the plenary session, reflecting the core priorities under the political guidelines: sustainable prosperity and competitiveness, defence and security, our social model, food security, water and nature, democracy and the rule of law, and Europe's global standing. These initiatives also reflect extensive consultations with both the European Parliament and Member States. In total, we are presenting 32 new policy objectives, and of the legislative initiatives, more than half, some 23 of them, are aimed at significant simplification, an area Commissioner Dombrovskis will elaborate on shortly. Additionally, we propose withdrawing 25 proposals and repealing 1. If you allow me to highlight how these initiatives work together to safeguard our sovereignty comprehensively. For example, initiatives such as Critical Raw Materials Centre, the Cloud and AI Development Act or the Quantum Act will help Europe maintain leadership in key industries and technologies. This is vital across sectors from clean and digital technology to automotive, space and defence. At its core, however, Europe's competitiveness and security are not abstract goals. They directly impact people's jobs and livelihoods. To that end, the Quality Jobs Act will help ensure employment keeps pace with the evolving economy. The Fair Labour Mobility Package will improve skills portability across the EU, while our education package will help equip future generations to thrive. Moreover, jobs are also sustained and created by nurturing our strategic partnerships around the world, and we will continue to expand the trade networks worldwide and advance initiatives like the Pact for Mediterranean, fostering strong, mutually beneficial collaborations. Europe must project stability, fairness and strength, underpinned by our commitment to the rules-based order. In conclusion, achieving these ambitions requires a modern, flexible and well-funded EU budget. Our proposed €2 trillion multi-annual financial framework for 2028 to 2034 will support competitiveness, decarbonisation, security, cohesion and Europe's global role. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I would like to share two important elements regarding the delivery of our ambitious simplification agenda. So, first, looking back by presenting the main findings of the first annual overview report on simplification, implementation and enforcement, and secondly, looking ahead by outlining the strong simplification dimension in 2026 work programme, which Maroš has just presented. But first, allow me very briefly place the simplification agenda in a broader context. Improving Europe's competitiveness is the European Commission's overarching and urgent priority, and simplification is a key component of that effort. The simplification of EU rules and better implementation is essential to make doing business easier and faster in Europe. Concretely, the aim is to ensure that our businesses spend less time and energy on paperwork and more on innovation, investment and growth. By allowing our businesses to focus on doing what they do best, we can help make Europe more competitive, secure our prosperity and achieve our broader policy objectives. So where are we in terms of delivery? The overview report summarises the Commission's progress in the first 7 months on the simplification, implementation and enforcement of EU rules and regulations. Overall, the report shows remarkable progress in delivering on our agenda on all three. So, firstly, on simplification. Since the beginning of the year, the Commission has presented 6 simplification omnibus proposals in areas such as sustainability reporting, sustainability due diligence, taxonomy, investment rules, agriculture, defence, on small mid-caps and more. Our proposals will have a real, tangible and positive impact on businesses right across Europe. To give you just some examples. For farmers, for example, we are moving towards one on-farm inspection a year, making environmental rules easier to understand and comply with, and facilitating access to financial support, especially for young farmers. For SMEs, we are making rules more proportionate so that during their scale-up phase, they are no longer suddenly confronted with the same compliance obligations as very large companies. For Europe's defence industry, we are making rules on permitting, procurement and licensing simpler to help enhance our security. We estimate the annual administrative savings stemming from the omnibus proposals and other simplification initiatives already presented to be over 8.6 billion euros. This represents around 1/5 of our overall target of 37.5 billion euros in annual administrative cost savings, which we want to achieve by the end of this Commission's mandate. So we have made already a strong start this year, but of course a lot of work remains ahead of us. To that end, we intend to present further omnibus proposals before the end of the year, including the digital package, an environmental omnibus, an automotive omnibus, food and feed safety, medical devices initiative. Secondly, on implementation. The report shows that the Commission has been listening to those who are actually navigating our rules and regulations in designing our proposals. Our simplification strategy mandates implementation dialogues and reality checks with stakeholders and practitioners to ensure that we are responding to their concerns. The Commission has by now held over 30 implementation dialogues. This means that members of the College have engaged with over 550 diverse stakeholders, including industry representatives, SMEs, entrepreneurs, social partners, central, regional and local authorities, and civil society. So we are following a bottom-up approach. Our stakeholders and practitioners know where the problems actually are. They are best placed to provide useful insights for the Commission to tackle the bottlenecks, duplications and redundancies present in EU rules and regulations. Then a word on enforcement. The report shows how the Commission is enforcing EU law in a more cooperative, determined and transparent manner. It highlights the increased use of pre-infringement dialogues to find swifter solutions, the launch of 373 infringement cases for incomplete or mainly for incomplete or incorrect transposition of directives, and an overall stock of 1,500 ongoing cases, coupled with 45 court referrals. And information in the report is complemented by a revamped Europa web page. Now moving on what 2026 holds for our simplification agenda. The message from the Commission Work Programme for 2026 is very clear. We intend to keep up the momentum. More than half of the next year's work programme initiatives focuses on making EU law simpler, clearer and easier to implement. This means that they will deliver the net cost savings to get us closer and closer to the overall 37.5 billion euros target for annual administrative cost savings. The Commission will present further omnibuses and other initiatives to simplify rules across the key sectors. This includes in areas like energy product legislation, taxation, competitiveness innovations, and we will put forward proposals to reduce burdens for citizens. The culture change that we have launched across the Commission, placing a greater focus on simplification and competitiveness, will also continue. All Commissioners and Commission services will engage in implementation dialogues and reality checks with practitioners, so to go beyond abstract discussions and focus on how concrete problems can be addressed directly and swiftly. We will continue screening EU laws and implementing rules to see if they are necessary to reach our policy objectives and do not add accumulated or undue burdens. Finally, I would like to stress that simplification is a joint effort. So the Commission will continue to work closely with co-legislators to ensure that these proposals are adopted swiftly and that all of our proposals realise their full potential to make the real impactful change on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you to both Commissioners. Many hands raised in the press room and remote, so I'll be taking them two by two. Andy and then Max.
Yeah, question for Commissioner Šefčovič. So you mentioned critical raw materials. You had a conversation with Wang Wentao today. We know how critical this issue is for EU industry. Did you make any progress? Thanks.
Well, it's also about this, and it comes from my colleagues from Trade. How serious is the backlog in handling applications by European companies for rare earth export permits, and which industries are worst affected? Has China committed to addressing that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, as you said, under this morning I held a video call with Minister Wang Wentao to follow up on my engagements with the Chinese authorities last week. You have heard me say before that the scale of China's export controls scaled up since April is unjustified and harmful, and these measures undermine our bilateral relations and run counter to our intentions to stabilise and make our trade more reliable. Therefore, I appreciate today's constructive discussion, during which we agreed to intensify contacts at all levels. I can tell you that our discussion lasted almost 2 hours, and at the conclusion of this discussion, I invited the Chinese authorities to come to Brussels in the coming days to find urgent solutions. The Minister Wang Wentao has accepted this invitation, so our teams will engage under the export control dialogue upgraded after the July EU-China summit. And I believe that after also this morning conversation, we have no interest in escalation. However, this situation casts a shadow over our relationship. Therefore, a prompt resolution is essential. Responding to the second question, I didn't catch the name of the journalist. Max. So the question of Max about the backlog. These are the rough numbers based on the feedback from our industry. We had so far sent over to Chinese authorities 8 lists of priority applications. So I'm talking around 2,000 applications. We can provide you with the exact figures after our press conference. And I was highlighting the fact that despite the reassurances from Chinese authorities to fast-track these priority applications, according to our assessment, only a little bit more than half of them been properly addressed. And of course, with this experience, this dramatic expansion of the scope of the export controls as it was proposed by the Chinese authorities last week is just highlighting how impactful and how negative these measures could impact the European industries. So I do not have the exact kind of layout which industry is impacted to what level, but I think that where you of course feel it the most is automotive industry, is machinery, and I'm sure that this would be also the case with new proposed measures. I appreciate that after this morning conversation we agreed that we would continue our contact also between our closest teams, and I will resend to Minister Wang Wentao again the applications where there have been significant delays, where they have negative impact on the production in our facilities, and that we would stay in touch to address these issues which might have a very negative impact of the performance of our factories in Europe.
Thanks. A clear topic of interest for everyone, and the Commissioner answered. I would ask now, considering the very limited time, if we can focus questions on the specific topics of the press conference, and then if time allows more. So on the topic of the press conference, okay, Konrad, go ahead, and then from remote.
Thank you. Konrad Kramer from the Austrian newspaper Kurier. Question to Commissioner Dombrovskis. The most recent changes to the EUDR the Commission now undertook seem that there's no more postponing of the EUDR decisions, and there will be a zero-risk category. Sometimes this seems a bit like, well, I would say, very quick off-the-cuff decisions. So you postpone something, then it's not postponed anymore, and then there is suddenly a zero-risk category for countries like Austria. Couldn't that be a risky strategy to move forward so fast?
And I'll also take Thomas from remote and then hand over to the Commissioner.
I would say topic is indeed, in a sense, discussed, decided by the Commission also exactly. Today, Commissioner Roswell is in charge on those specific comments, so I cannot come now with detailed comments on the initiative, but in a sense, we had heard a lot of complaints from stakeholders, also from other countries, on their difficulties to prepare in a timely manner, and so this in most cases will actually provide also for stakeholders to properly prepare for the implementation of EUDR.
Thank you, and let me just remind you that Commissioner Roswell will be giving a press conference today at the end of the ENVI Council. It should be around 7 p.m., so let's see also if she gets questions on this, as I imagine. Let's go to Thomas from remote. Thanks.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, hi.
Yes. Sorry, this is a bit cheeky, but it's also about the call today between Commissioner Šefčovič and his Chinese counterpart. But so in the Chinese readout, they also mentioned the issue of Nexperia, and they also mentioned the electric vehicle dispute. And I was wondering whether you'd be able to provide your own version of how this discussion went there as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. We'll answer it then, and I would really plead to focus on the topics of the press conference, Commissioner.
Thank you very much also for this question. Indeed, the Dutch and Chinese authorities are in frequent contact regarding this serious bilateral matter, which can have both European and global repercussions. I would like also to highlight the fact that I'm also in constant touch with both sides to support a swift resolution. And I was in touch with both Chinese ministers this morning, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, but also with the Dutch business and economic minister yesterday. And today And after these conversations, I'm reassured by the intention expressed by both sides to de-escalate the situation and work towards a practical agreement that will restore supply chains, provide much needed certainty, and prevent production halts around the globe. I think that all of us, including the two principal actors in this case, both ministers from Netherlands and China, are fully aware the time is of the essence here as well. And we will do our utmost to stay in close touch with both sides to find a swift resolution to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take questions from Maximilian and Kuhn from remote.
Thanks very much. Can you see and hear me? Perfect. There's a question on the work program, specifically on the very first initiative listed there, the 28th regime. There has been some discussion on whether this will be presented as a directive or a regulation. The work program now lists Article 50 as the legal basis, which, as far as I understand, only allows for directives. Does that mean we can expect a directive for the 28th regime? Thank you very much.
Kuhn, I think, if we can take the two so we get a bit of time. Kuhn changed his mind. Okay, then Commissioners, over to you. Apologies.
I think that 28th regime, as you rightly pointed out, was also the topic which was probably the most frequently referred to by the plenary debate, which is concluded with the members of the European Parliament. It was one of the priorities underscored by the President of the Commission, be it in her State of the Union address, but also when she was presenting the Commission programmes to the European Parliament. So here clearly what we are looking for is the best possible solution which we can deliver as fast as possible, because we know that if it comes to the delivery on this measure, that especially the SMEs, but also the big enterprises are looking very much to the introduction on the 28th regime, because it would really save a lot of paperwork. It would allow them to almost immediately after this is restored to operate on all members of the European Union, the member states of the European Union, and to operate, I would say, in what we believe would be much more easier regime. So these are, I would say, the overarching goals of these proposals, and I don't know, Valdis, if you have any additional details you would like to share.
Thank you. Let's go to Frederick and then Mose.
Hi, Frederick Simon from Carbon Pulse. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going through the annex and saw that there is a climate package which is due next year with a revision of the ETS, which is something that was widely expected, but there's another item called revision of national targets and flexibilities in the EU climate policy framework. And I was wondering what this is, whether this relates to the 2040 climate target or whether this also relates to some of the 2030 objectives. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take Mose as well. Then Commissioners will reply, and then one more from the press room.
Yes, thank you very much, Ariana. Mose Appelblad, Brussels Times. This is a question for Commissioner Šefčovič. It's more about what seems to be missing in the work program, because I didn't find any legislative proposal on updating animal welfare, in particular based on the European Citizens Initiative on banning cages for farmed animals, which, as we all know, was well prepared already back in 2023, and then the Commission committed itself by that year to propose, let's say, a legislative proposal. Why is it so that it's missing now? Is it because it has nothing to do with the work program's focus, as it seems, on simplification and competitiveness? Thank you.
Very much. I would start with the last question. I would also point out to the fact that also our colleagues, Commissioner Roswell and Hoekstra, will have their own press conferences, but I will do my best to provide you with a greater detail. If it comes to the question of the gentleman on the AIDS, the cage age, I think that we would all recall that it was already announced in 2025 Vision on Agriculture and Food that one of the priorities of the Commission is to work very closely with the farmers, with the agri-food industry, with the food chain, but also, I would underscore, with the civil society. And on this basis of the sector-by-sector approach, Commission aims to present legislative proposals on the revision of the existing EU animal welfare legislation responding to the European Citizens' Initiative and the cage as well. I'm sure that you noticed that in our Commission work programme we have announced the livestock strategy together with the addition to this that it would also look into the animal welfare aspects. To reassure you, I would like to also inform the audience that the work on this proposal is already ongoing, as well as preparatory actions with external contractors to support our impact assessment. Currently, there is ongoing public consultation to seek input on the revision of the EU legislation for on-farm animal welfare, which will be open until the 12th of December. And as you know, what we are looking for is to gather the views of farmers, citizens, businesses, national and regional authorities, NGOs, but also other interested parties. So, as you see, this is a pretty comprehensive work, and it's properly reflected in the Commission work programme. And if it comes to the first question, I'm sure that greater details could be better provided by my colleagues, Commissioner Roswell and Hoekstra, but in principle, the answer to your question is that we are looking for the post-2030 period. Therefore, I mean, what we are putting on the table is the frame for the decade to come, and that's the time frame within which we operate, and we proposed this item into the Commission work programme. But as I say, the details are with my colleagues who are directly portfolio commissioners for this item.
Thanks a lot. Last question of the day. Over to Kim.
Thanks very much. Kim McCrail from the Wall Street Journal. This is a question perhaps for both commissioners, although it might be a little bit more for Commissioner Šefčovič. Have you updated your U.S. counterparts so far on, or in recent weeks, on the EU's simplification efforts? And I'm asking in particular because the joint statement between the U.S. and the EU included some measures related to CSDDD, CSRD, deforestation, some of the measures that we're talking about today. Have you given them a recent update, and what are you hearing from them? Do you think it's going to be enough to satisfy them in terms of what they believe they agreed to in the joint statement? Thanks.
You had a meeting with the Secretary of Treasury the last week.
On this, indeed. So last week I was in Washington, D.C., where I met Treasury Secretary Bessent, and also had been meeting with the Chair of National Economic Council, Mr. Hesed, obviously we discussed also these topics. The fundamental principle to remember here is that, in a sense, each jurisdiction retains the authority to regulate the business activity on their territory, in their jurisdiction, and as US are regulating businesses which are doing economic activity in the US, EU is regulating businesses which do economic activity in the EU, and that, I think, is clear. As I said, obviously this simplification agenda, notably what you also mentioned, CSDDD and other legislations are also of interest and concern for US businesses, just like they are for EU businesses. Indeed, I had been updating my counterparts and colleagues on this simplification agenda, outlining that it's also in EU's best interest to simplify our rules to improve the business environment and to improve the competitiveness of the European economy, and actually in parallel also helps to alleviate certain concerns on US side. Like, for example, on CSDDD, we also are limiting certain extraterritorial effects on the application of CSDDD, which are highly relevant for US.
I would just compliment Commissioner Dombrovskis' response that we are almost in day-to-day communication exchanges with both Secretary Latnik and Ambassador Greer. Of course, as you can imagine, the last couple of days we've been focusing on the, I would say, priority question of today to compare the notes. How are we dealing with the rare earth? Of course, for me, one of the priority issue is still derivatives, because we provided detailed information to our American counterparts about the steel safeguards measures we adopted, which I think very much reflect our common concern, which is global overcapacity if it comes to the steel production and protection of the jobs and production capacity, in our case, of course, in the European Union. And I believe that this is a solid basis to come back to the discussion of the ring fencing if it comes to the steel market in Europe and in the United States. We are communicating not only on the top level. I know that our teams are communicating with USTR, with the Department of Commerce on various levels, with the US mission in Brussels, where we are providing details not only on our simplification agenda, but also on the implementation of the joint statement, because I think this is what both President Trump and President von der Leyen agreed upon in the late July, and I think that this should be our top priority, and we are very much focusing our attention to make sure that this joint statement is properly fulfilled, and then, of course, that we would exchange all the information, be it on simplification or the new elements of cooperation with our US counterparts on a very, very frequent basis.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, and thanks to everyone that has participated and made this possible. We will see you tomorrow for our midday briefing. For now, this is the end of this press conference, and I wish you a very nice evening. Goodbye.